Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It was supposed to be a day of answers, a day where Sharon Newman could finally breathe again after months of unbearable uncertainty. But what began as a quest for clarity turned into a storm of heartbreak, rage, and disbelief that would shake Genoa City to its core. The truth about Mariah Copeland's paternity, a truth Sharon had long avoided facing, came crashing down on her like a tidal wave, and when she saw Ian Ward's name printed on that DNA test result, her entire world shattered in an instant. For weeks, Sharon had been haunted by doubts, by whispers of inconsistencies in Mariah's past that didn't quite add up. Despite her fierce love for her daughter, Sharon couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling that something about Mariah's origins wasn't what she'd been told. When a lab technician from Memorial Hospital called and mentioned that there were anomalies in the previous DNA records from years ago, Sharon knew she had to face the truth, no matter how painful it might be. So she requested a new DNA test, determined to confirm, once and for all, who Mariah's biological father was. Sharon's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Her breath hitched in her throat, her pulse racing as the paper unfolded in her hands. She had expected to see a name that would bring comfort, closure, perhaps even a forgotten connection to a man who could explain everything. But when her eyes fell upon the words biological father, Ian Ward, she screamed, a raw, guttural sound that seemed to tear through the walls of her home. No, this can't be right. Sharon cried, her voice breaking as tears flooded her eyes. The pages slipped from her fingers and fluttered to the floor like falling leaves. Her heart felt like it had been ripped apart. Ian Ward. The very name sent chills down her spine. The man who had manipulated, brainwashed, and terrorized her family in the past. The man who had once claimed to be her spiritual savior but turned out to be a monster in disguise. The man she had sworn would never again have any power over her or her children. She stumbled backward, gripping the edge of the coffee table as her knees weakened beneath her. Flashbacks flashed through her mind, Ian's hypnotic gaze, his cruel smirk, the way he'd always spoken about destiny and control. The thought that this twisted man could share any biological connection with her daughter was unthinkable. Sharon's tears turned into trembling sobs as she clutched her chest, gasping for air. No. He can't be, he can't, she whispered, shaking her head in disbelief. But the evidence was right there, in black and white. The genetic markers, the matches, all undeniable. Mariah entered the living room just in time to see her mother crumble. Mom? What's wrong? She asked, her voice trembling with concern. Sharon quickly tried to gather the papers, but her shaking hands betrayed her. Mariah reached for them, but Sharon's panic exploded. Don't touch them. Sharon screamed, clutching the papers to her chest. Mariah froze, her eyes wide. Mom, what's going on? You're scaring me. Sharon's voice cracked as she whispered, It's Ian. Ian Ward. He's your father. The silence that followed was unbearable. Mariah's expression went from confusion to shock, and finally to sheer horror. What did you just say? She asked, her voice barely audible. Sharon dropped to her knees, tears streaking down her cheeks. I didn't want to believe it, Mariah. I swear I didn't. I thought it was just a mistake, a mix-up. But the DNA results, they confirm it. Ian Ward is your biological father. Mariah staggered backward as if she'd been struck. Her lips trembled, her eyes filling with tears. No, that can't be true, she whispered. He's a psychopath, Mom. He's evil. Sharon nodded, sobbing. I know what he is. That's why I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe the old tests were wrong, maybe something was tampered with, but this one came from an independent lab. It's real, Mariah. It's all real. The reality of it hit Mariah like a wrecking ball. Every nightmare, every manipulative thing Ian had ever said to her suddenly made sense in the most horrific way. He had once claimed a spiritual connection to her, and now she knew why. He had known all along. He had known she was his daughter. He knew. Mariah screamed, throwing the lamp across the room. He knew, and he didn't tell me. He made me trust him, he used me. Her voice cracked with pain and rage. She turned toward her mother, her face pale and streaked with tears. How could this happen? How could he be my father? Sharon reached out for her, but Mariah pulled away. Mariah, please, I didn't know. I swear to you, I didn't know. I thought you were someone else's child, I thought maybe it was just another cruel game from Ian. But this changes everything. Mariah collapsed onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. It doesn't just change everything, Mom. It ruins everything. Sharon knelt beside her, clutching her hands. No, sweetheart. Listen to me. You are not him. You are not his bloodline, not his darkness. You are my daughter, my heart. That's all that matters. But Mariah pulled away again, shaking her head. You don't get it. You can say that, but his blood is in me. His evil is in me. Her voice quivered. What if that's why I've always felt different? What if that's why I could never fit in? Sharon's tears spilled freely now. Don't say that. You are nothing like him. You are brave, and kind, and good, everything he isn't. Mariah's breathing grew shallow as she stared at the shredded papers on the floor. I want to believe that, Mom. I really do. But I can't stop thinking about everything he did, the lies, the manipulation. And now knowing he's my father, she covered her face and sobbed. It makes me sick. Sharon's anguish boiled over. With a scream that echoed through the house, she snatched the DNA results from the table and began tearing them apart. No. This means nothing. It's just paper. It's a lie. It doesn't define you, she shouted as the pages ripped into pieces and fluttered to the floor like confetti of despair. Mariah jumped up, startled. Mom, stop. But Sharon kept tearing until there was nothing left but shredded fragments scattered across the carpet. Her breaths came in ragged gasps as she clutched the torn remnants to her chest. He will not win again, she said through her sobs. He's not going to destroy us like he did before. I won't let him. Mariah watched, her heart breaking for the woman who had already endured so much pain. Slowly, she knelt beside her mother and wrapped her arms around her. Mom, she whispered, you don't have to protect me from this. We'll deal with it together. Sharon looked up at her daughter, her tear-streaked face filled with fear and love. I just wanted to give you a normal life, she whispered. A life without him. Mariah nodded. You did. You gave me a life, a chance, a family. You saved me from him. Don't ever forget that. For a long moment, they just held each other, mother and daughter bound by love and tragedy. But even as they clung together, a shadow loomed over them. Because somewhere out there, Ian Ward was very much alive, and he would soon learn that the truth had finally been uncovered. That night, Sharon couldn't sleep. She sat by the window, staring into the darkness, replaying the events of the day over and over in her mind. Her thoughts were filled with Ian, his cold voice, his twisted grin. She could almost hear him whispering, "You can't fight destiny, Sharon." She shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. "You're wrong, Ian," she muttered under her breath. "Destiny doesn't belong to you." Meanwhile, Mariah sat in her room, scrolling through old photos and messages, trying to piece together every memory she had of Ian. The more she thought about it, the clearer it became, he had always known. Every cryptic comment, every strange look, it all made sense now. He had been watching her, controlling her, shaping her life from the shadows. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "You stole my identity. You stole my peace. But you won't steal my future." The next morning, Sharon and Mariah made a pact. They would not let this revelation define them. Sharon promised to go to the police and make sure Ian could never come near them again. Mariah agreed to start therapy, determined to untangle the damage he had inflicted. But beneath their brave faces, both women knew the road ahead would be long and painful. As they burned the last pieces of the DNA results in the fireplace, Sharon took Mariah's hand and said softly, "We start over today. We forget his name. We build our own story." Mariah nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. Our story, not his. But even as the flames consumed the last evidence of Ian Ward's connection to them, neither woman could shake the feeling that this was far from over. Because secrets like these had a way of resurfacing, and Ian Ward, wherever he was, would not let his legacy be erased so easily. Somewhere in the shadows of Genoa City, Ian smiled as he watched the firelight flicker through Sharon's window. "Ah," he murmured, his voice dripping with sinister satisfaction, "so she finally knows." The battle for Mariah's soul had just begun, and Sharon Newman, heartbroken but fierce, would stop at nothing to protect her daughter from the darkness that shared her blood. The morning air in Genoa City was unusually still, a silence that felt heavy, almost prophetic. Sharon Newman woke before dawn, unable to escape the gnawing feeling that something terrible was about to happen. The memory of the previous day still clung to her like a fog, the DNA results, the screaming, the tears, the sight of those pages burning to ash in the fireplace. For a moment, she had thought that destroying the evidence would erase the pain. But some truths, she realized, had a way of echoing even after they were silenced. Mariah was already in the kitchen when Sharon came downstairs. She looked exhausted, her eyes puffy from crying, her hands trembling as she poured herself a cup of coffee. Neither woman spoke for several minutes, the silence between them said everything words couldn't. Finally, Mariah broke it. "I had a dream," she said softly, staring into her mug. "He was there. Ian. Standing in the doorway of my room. He said I couldn't run from him, that blood always finds its way home." Sharon froze mid-step. "Mariah, it was just a dream. He's not here. He can't be." Mariah's voice trembled. "How do you know?" "He's escaped before. He survived things no one else could." "What if he knows?" Sharon wanted to say no, to reassure her daughter that Ian Ward was nothing more than a ghost of the past, but she couldn't. Deep down, in the coldest part of her soul, she felt it too. Ian Ward was not the kind of man who disappeared quietly. Across town, a familiar figure was indeed back, lurking in the shadows of a cheap motel room on the outskirts of Genoa City. Ian Ward sat in a worn armchair, reading an old newspaper article about himself. The headline read, "Cult Leader Ian Ward Presumed Dead After Prison Riot." He smirked, folding the paper neatly. "Presumed dead," he muttered, his voice laced with irony. "Oh, Sharon. You should know better. You can't bury destiny." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small photograph, one he had stolen years ago. It was of Mariah, smiling beside Sharon and Faith at a family picnic. He traced Mariah's face with his finger, his eyes glinting with twisted affection. "My daughter," he whispered. "The world kept us apart for far too long. But now it's time for us to finish what was started." Back at the cottage, Sharon was pacing the living room, phone in hand. She had already called Ray's former partner at the GCPD, asking for updates on Ian's file. The response was not what she wanted to hear. Ian Ward's case had gone cold. There was no confirmation of his death, no body ever found. Sharon hung up, her blood running cold. "He's alive," she whispered. Mariah looked up sharply. "What did you say?" Sharon turned to her daughter, her voice shaking. "They never found him, Mariah. He could be anywhere." Mariah's eyes filled with panic. "Then we need to leave, right now. We can't stay here." But Sharon shook her head. "No. Running won't stop him. If we disappear, he'll find us. He always does. We need to face him, together." Meanwhile, at Crimson Lights, Tessa Porter noticed that Mariah had been distant all morning. Her wife's usual spark was gone, replaced by a haunted look that made Tessa's stomach twist. "Babe," Tessa said gently, reaching across the table, "you've been quiet since last night. What's going on?" Mariah tried to smile, but her lips quivered. It's nothing, Tess. I just didn't sleep well. Tessa studied her, unconvinced. Mariah, I know you. You look terrified. What happened? Mariah swallowed hard, tears threatening to spill. If I tell you, you'll think I'm crazy. Try me. Mariah took a deep breath, her hands trembling. Ian Ward, he's my father. Tessa blinked, stunned. What? That monster? Mariah, that's not possible. It is, Mariah cut in, her voice breaking. We did another DNA test. It confirmed it. Ian Ward is my biological father. And now? I think he's coming back. Tessa's heart sank. Oh my God. Before either of them could say another word, a familiar, chilling voice echoed from the entrance of the coffee house. Did I hear my name? Every muscle in Mariah's body froze. Slowly, she turned, and there he was. Ian Ward. Alive, smirking, eyes glinting like polished steel. The cafe seemed to go silent, the air thick with dread. Tessa stood protectively in front of Mariah. You need to leave. Now. Ian chuckled, tilting his head. Tessa Porter, isn't it? The devoted wife. How touching. His gaze shifted to Mariah. And how you've grown. I see the strength I always knew you'd have. Mariah's voice trembled with fury. You stay away from me. Ian spread his arms theatrically. Why so hostile, my dear? I only came to see my daughter. You are not my father, Mariah spat. You're a manipulative freak who ruins everything he touches. Ian's smile didn't falter. Anger is a natural reaction to truth. I understand. Sharon tried to bury it, didn't she? Burned the results, perhaps? She's always been so dramatic. The blood drained from Mariah's face. How do you know that? Ian leaned in closer, lowering his voice. Let's just say I have my ways. Nothing stays hidden from me for long. Before Mariah could respond, Sharon burst through the door, out of breath, panicked, clutching her phone. When her eyes met Ian's, she froze. It was like looking into the face of a nightmare. No, she whispered. You're supposed to be dead. Ian smiled, his tone dripping with mock sweetness. Death and I have a complicated relationship, Sharon. But I must admit, seeing you again warms my heart. Get out. Sharon shouted, her voice trembling with rage. You're not welcome here. You stay away from my daughter. Ian's eyes gleamed. Our daughter, he corrected smoothly. Sharon's scream echoed through crimson lights, drawing everyone's attention. She is not yours. She never was. Ian took a step forward, his tone calm, almost soothing. You can tear up the papers, Sharon. You can burn them, scream at them, pretend they don't exist. But you can't destroy blood. You and I created something extraordinary, a child born from power and destiny. Destiny? Sharon snapped, tears welling in her eyes. You call what you did destiny? You used me, Ian. You violated my trust, my mind, everything.